welcome to the Trinity Force Podcast. Yo, it's that Triforce cast beaming straight to your home. Grab a beer so we know Pone ain't drinking alone. Send an email, a quick tweet, just pick up the phone. Leave a message at the beep if you're a creep, watch your tone. Discuss the meta game, patch notes, whatever helps your stats most. Obi-Pone Kenobi is your last hope to snatch gold. So grab your headphones and join in the fun. We'll try enforcing some jokes and some cringeworthy puns. Yo, we can make it together, people. Trinity Force Podcast. These boys are second to none. Now that's the end of the intro. It's time we begun.
Hello and welcome everybody to episode number 802 of the Trinity Force Podcast. I am, as always, your host, N.A. Eric, and it is me and John, and Bomo's been held up at some important work stuff, so he's not joining us. But we have a new voice to introduce. We have Matt. Would you prefer Matt the Martian? I probably should have asked you ahead of this. Like, what would you like us to refer to you as, sir?
Matt is A-OK.
All right, sweet. Yep, so we have Matt, and we'll be introducing him and going over Milio, the newest champ to hit the Rift, and stuff like that. So, I guess before we banter and talk about the tournament that we had, which was, I would say, wildly successful, and I led it fantastically, not tooting my own horn or anything. Matt, why don't you give us a little intro about how'd you get into League first off, man?
Oh, that was a long time ago. Originally I saw Zed as an ad for some reason. I don't know why. And it popped up on YouTube and I was like, this is so cool seeing this champion pop left, right, and just going through the shadows. And I thought that was so edgy and so cool as a kid. And so I decided to start playing. And I joined whenever Vel'Koz was first released around that time. Season 3, 4, somewhere around there.
Let me see. When was Vel'Koz released? I'm going to guess 2013. July of 2013 is my guess.
Somewhere around there. I always remember seeing the client always showing Vel'Koz on the release screen.
Let me see. When was he released? Okay, I have the date. Do you guys want to venture a guess for month and year? I was not correct, so don't pick July of 2013.
Is it March?
Of 2013? No, incorrect. Matt, what do you think?
I'm gonna go 2014, February.
Oh my God, he nailed it.
Hey,
February 27th of 2014. Nice.
Dang.
Okay.
I only said February because I started another game sometime in February.
He knows his Vel'Koz stuff.
Sure does. Now I want to do a Vel'Koz 1v1 with you.
Sure, tree time.
Yep.
Happy time.
Cool. So have you stuck with League the whole time since you joined back then, or have you taken breaks? I mean, a lot of us have stepped away for months. I mean, everyone takes their break for like a week or two, right? But like, have you taken any breaks for extended periods at all, or have you stuck with it since then?
It's been on and off, practically one game, maybe a week or so. The addiction is real for me. I enjoyed it way too much, and I still keep on playing it. It's more of a casual type of game. It's sort of like chess, but I don't know. I enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah, we all take it pretty casually sometimes. Especially John, since he's still not up to Diamond. He's definitely just taking it chill. He's not even trying right now.
I'm being lazy. Wow, imagine just trying to have fun, Eric. Wow.
This is League of Legends.
What a concept.
This is League of Legends.
True.
This is not for
Yeah.
fun, okay? If
That's
I'm
very
not
true,
if
yeah.
I'm not bleeding out of my ears by the end of the session, I've not been trying hard enough.
If you're not sweating and you're not bleeding after, you're not doing it right.
Exactly. I'd say I go through about 3 keyboards per League game as well. Okay. Cool, Matt. So what's your favorite champion?
Good question. My current favorite champion is Twitch, but it usually fluctuates between a multitude of ADCs.
Okay. Why
about-
Twitch? Yeah, what about it?
So Twitch, it's just that unique mechanic with his Q, the invisibility. I always find new interesting ways I can play around with his Q, either flanks or just invading. Sometimes I feel like I'm Evelyn, to where I can just sneak up and just be a ward and just get to a spot where most people can't really see or know about. Plus the fact that it's not reliant always on my first auto attacks is always reliant on that E right after. So I can always get the execution right after. Say if there's like a silver spell shield or type of style, I can just wait it out and then throw the E right after.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like the Q is very underrated. I feel like for scouting and stuff.
How long does that queue last?
It's like
Quite a
1 or
long
2
time, yeah.
seconds. It's ridiculously long.
Yeah, because it's like not a channel, but it takes a few seconds to kick in, and then it's for at least 10 seconds.
Let's
I would
see.
guess.
It lasts stealth duration. Oh, it's not that as long as I thought. It's 10 to 14 seconds based on ability rank. I for some reason thought it went like up to like 40 seconds.
No.
Okay.
It's not that long.
It used to, perhaps, or maybe I'm just dating
It used
myself.
to be it used to be forever actually before they changed the invisibility patch where people actually became camouflage instead.
For everybody except for Shako, who still has the pure invisibility.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Have fun.
Yep. Does Twitch's lore speak to you at all, or is it purely gameplay?
It's purely just gameplay.
Okay.
Just the idea of playing around and using cheese tactics is always entertaining.
Nice. So you probably would. I like that as well, and that's why I have an affinity for playing Kiana, because I can you hopping around and using those grass blades, and so much fun. I love doing that sorts of all those mind games and shit. That's why I've latched on to playing Shako somewhat this season. Exactly that reason.
Yeah, I love doing like with Rengar, doing what you're talking about with his Q, with Twitch's Q, is kind of like with Rengar. Or sometimes if you have a general idea like where their jungler is too, you can just use your R to like scout as well, and that's sometimes just as useful just to get all that information and know exactly where they are and stuff like that. But yeah, I feel like that's a under people don't utilize it in that way as much as they can.
One thing I think most basic players, if you were to take anything from this, I think the Q, just using it even as the attack speed buff during lane, it's super huge as well, just so you can get prio over your wave and get wave control with it. If you have nothing else to use it for, use it for that.
Okay. I'm looking, and the ambush delay was longer, but it was back in patch 1.0.0.143, and the stealth it back was like pure invisibility back then, but it was reduced to 4 to 8 with ability level from 10 to 50 is what it used to be. So I'm remembering like the very beginning when it was 50 seconds of pure invisibility. That's insanity.
Yeah, that's wild.
God. And I don't even
mean,
know if pink wards could spot you back then, those vision wards. Maybe they could, but I don't think so.
No. I think Twitch had the same build with the Evelyn back then whenever you could do the Sunfire and just stand on
Oh.
people.
Oh my
And that became meta for
god.
forever.
I don't remember that at all, but I didn't even think about that. That's fucked up. That's fucked up. Oh man. Okay. So yeah, what made you want to join us on the pod? Like what made you want to get interested in being a Trinity Force podcaster other than, the limitless benefits and prestige that comes with being a part of the crew here?
First off, I enjoy just getting my voice out there. Second off, I actually enjoy the podcast so much to the point where I'm sitting here just listening as I'm either driving or just doing my casual things, just listening to podcasts. I'll just be sitting back and being like, I like this new patch. Let's figure out how I can make a new item build out of it. And then sometimes during the podcast, y'all start going through and doing different item builds, or just funny, unique things. I enjoy that so much. I was like, I could do that too. And so whenever I heard y'all offering like, hey, we have a new position available, I figured why not give it a try and see if I can get in.
Sweet. I definitely like that I now have another kindred spirit to go down the build rabbit hole, because normally it's just me thinking up crazy shit, and then all the different hosts that have come and gone, like everyone's just like, no, Eric, stop trying to think of this crazy shit. But now I have someone else that I can scheme with. So now, John, you're gonna have to be the reasonable one tonight.
Especially when I'm very vanilla when it comes to builds and stuff like that. I don't know. I've whenever we start talking about wild builds, also your Kaisa build was the hybrid build was sweet, but I want
For
to try that.
for those who don't know, I literally just played a Kaisa build that's not in the meta or in like the u.gg or any place that you can only find. Cancel. So sometimes, I'm sorry, for my build, it's the Kraken Slayer into the Wit's End and Nash's Tooth, to which then you can build full AP right after. It's a very deceptive build because people think you're just going to do the standard Kaisa build where you just build AD or the full Tank Slayer type of style. But then you just all of a sudden resort back over to this AP build. It finishes all your upgrades, including the W as well, to which then you can tank shred the tanks that just went full armor or whatever you need to do, poke with your W. It fills all the roles that you need.
So for those
Yeah,
extra AP items, are you thinking like death cap? I mean, it depends on income, of course, right? But like, what are you
Yeah.
generally like? What's in the item pool of things that you might potentially buy there?
The item pool right after the Gnasher Tooth, usually I would go the Death Cap right after, just because the AP with the W makes it super powerful, so I can burst people down with the. Right now, I think it's Halo Blades that you go. It works with both Lethal Tempo and Halo Blades. I like Lethal Tempo more for the late game wise, but Halo Blades right now is definitely meta, just because of the patch notes. But it really depends. I go Death Cap. Sometimes I'll do Zonia's Hourglass. I'll do the penetration if the tanks suddenly realize, oh, you're going to AP now. Let's just swap on over to Magic Resist.
Assuming they're smart enough
But
to
for the
hit
most part,
tab and ingest the information, right?
exactly.
true, very true.
That is very true.
Yeah. Cool.
Also, that's nice because it's like a Kaisa's like one of those ADCs like where you're sitting in champ select until like you literally your team picks full AD and you still have to pick your ADC and you can still build a little bit of magic or like Forest is like that too where you can just go AP and it works. Um, but that's all just really nice being able to have that flexibility and also just like that hybrid build like that is it makes it so your W just hits so hard before you go in, and your shield scales off your R shield scales off the AP too, so you get a massive shield, which is always nice.
Does that
Indeed.
shield? So I know that they changed like Tom Kench's ult shield, where it slowly decays as opposed to just disappearing if you don't get through it. Does Kaisa's shield still do that as well, or is that still just if you don't get use it within the 3 or 2 seconds or whatever, it disappears?
I think it's
I think it
decaying,
just
Okay.
right? Or let me look.
kind of
Let's
sort of
see.
disappears.
Yeah, it does. So it says for after 2 seconds, it
Yeah.
absorbs X damage for 2 seconds.
I like whenever they buff Kai'Sa's shield to make it bigger, to remind people that Kai'Sa's a champion or is a placebo buff, because it does absolutely nothing in terms of gameplay, especially if it's like AP ratios or something, because no one ever gets through
Right.
that shield. So,
Doesn't really affect much at all.
nah,
Hmm.
not at all. Cool. So outside of League, what do you do when you're not potting with us and playing League? What sort of things do you like to do for fun, or what? I mean, what do you do for a living as well? You're not a student right now, are you?
Currently, I actually am.
Okay,
I'm going to college right now. It's a community college. I'm becoming an ASL interpreter. I'm working on it. I'm almost there. I just need to get certified and I'll be set to go. Um, but yeah, my full passion is going around the interpreting, doing the ASL fun stuff. It's enjoyable. I enjoy having or being bilingual. Um, I enjoy that the two different type of cultures as well, the deaf culture and the hearing culture. But yeah, right now, job wise, I am working on a ropes course. If you think of a lifeguard, I'm basically a lifeguard, but for the people on this like obstacle course, so things like the wooden pillars with metal wires going across and obstacles in between. I just get to sit up
nice.
there, watch people go across. It's quite enjoyable. Give help tips and that type of stuff.
That's very cool. How many people would you say in a given week have a panic attack because they feel that they're too high up?
Every single day. Around. There's got to be at least once every 30 minutes.
Oh my
So
god.
we get new groups every single 30 minutes coming onto the course. So, and one
I
of the
feel like
people
being
always
scared of
freaks out.
heights is pretty common.
Hmm.
It
People will
is.
say, "Oh, I want to do this instead of doing the skydiving." So
Yeah, I mean, I have a fear of heights as well, so I totally understand that fear, but at least know enough in myself. Like, okay, if you're a little kid, that's different, or even like a teenager or whatever. But uh, I at least know what heights I can handle and what heights I can't. And probably with a ropes course, I'm like, no. Like, I know I'm never going I'm almost definitely never going zip lining. Can't handle it. No, thank you. Like, I go rock climbing all the time. I don't do the ropes because I don't trust that the auto belays or the person belaying me will actually catch me. So if I were to do ropes, I climb up the wall and then I climb back down, and I'm fucking gassed by then. So no, I did go skydiving because I committed to it. And once I was in the plane, like, okay, I was tandem, so I didn't do it
Yeah.
solo. But I was like, okay, I'm making myself do this so that I can actually conquer my fear of heights some. It didn't actually work. I had a great time, but It didn't work at all. Like if I'm standing over, just like one story up, I don't feel comfortable looking straight down over a railing. Nope, still not going to change. But um, yeah, I'm surprised that that many people freak out. Quite honestly. Hmm.
yeah,
Okay.
it's a very human thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say it. Originally, I was wanting to become a pilot, um, but since I'm a type 1 diabetic, getting into that commercial industry is very difficult, and it's just another thing on top. I could go into detail about it. There's there's too much stuff technical about it. Just to know, keep it simple. If I was to pass out, I'd be out of the industry for 5 years. Can't do anything in there, so
Yikes.
I decided to go down the route of ASL, and that's where I am now.
Nice. That's a great route to go. I know it's where I went to University of Minnesota for undergrad, and there were over by my dorm were the ASL building. So I actually had some people who would pass by, and I'd talk to them in like a cafeteria near there. They'd be taking ASL classes and stuff like that. It's really interesting to hear about um, and see people doing signing and stuff, because for people who don't, or I mean, at least for me, my experience of seeing someone do sign language is that they're just waving their hands and their body in different ways. And I mean, that's exactly what it is, but I don't uh it's very cool to me that people can communicate through that manner.
Yeah, I just feel like I see it and I'm like, wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
My favorite thing to go back with it is just being just saying, if you don't know, just start playing charades, and hopefully they'll start understanding. That's your charades, the letters, and then you can go into ASL. It's your fundamental foundations you get there.
Okay. So what like first turned you on to ASL and you were like, "Oh shit, this is really cool. This is something I might want to do."
Uh, it's a very long story. I I'm gonna see if I can make it short. So whenever I was a kid, I went to a summer camp called Texas Lions Camp. It's a camp for kids with disabilities, and so I would go there every single year to the Diabetics Week, and you would always see people there. There's a bunch of camp counselors there, and some of them were deaf as well, so they would sign, and it would just include everybody together and be like, "This is how life is. We're all together. It's this way, but it's okay. We're doing great." And
That's
so they did quite literally everything there, and that sort of sparked the interest. But the true thing that really got me going was whenever I found a deaf community around me, and then I also found out that online there is inside VR there's people who actually sign as well. So that sparked my interest, and I didn't realize that that there was people who actually sign inside VR. And ever since then, I've been going full hardcore into sign language.
That's so cool. That's a great cause and really uplifting. And I had no
That's
idea that
awesome.
VR incorporated sign language either. But that's really smart that they took that chance to do that, um, to include another uh, subset of people that can't normally interact with video games in the same way that people without disabilities do. That's great for accessibility.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, I could ask you all day about all sorts of different stuff, but we're going to learn more about you over time as we do more pods. But we're going to be talking about Milio, but before we get into that, I have a new question of the week to pose. So, um, what I wanted to ask, well, I guess what I still want to ask, it's not that I wanted, I still want to ask, is would you being listeners, prefer to see the next TFN tournament be an ARAM tournament or a Nemesis draft tournament? So ARAM being literally the game mode on the Howling Abyss, all random, all mid. We could either do that through tournament draft. We've done like, solo games like that before and just customs, or make it so everybody's random, or we could do it blind pick. There's a plethora of ways we could do that. The alternative is Nemesis Draft, which, for those of you who tuned into the Twitch channel, um, where John was casting the Nemesis Draft match for the final boss of the tournament that happened. Nemesis Draft is where you draft for your opponents. It used to be a rotating game mode in the game, which has not come out in, I don't know, 7-8 years or so. I thought it was pretty popular when it was out, but it didn't get brought back for whatever reason. Maybe it will in the future. I'd like to see it come back, but let us know your thoughts about that. I will post that in the Discord area right after this pod is over. But yeah, guys, which would you rather play in? Matt, which
The
one would you
Nemesis
rather
one
play?
looked fun. Yeah.
Nemesis?
I think the Nemesis will be really fun. Just trying to figure out some weird builds you had to do since you got a random champion.
Yeah. Yeah, the Nemesis was sweet. Yeah, it was really fun to play in. What did we end up drafting?
The Rakan jungle.
Yep, I played Rakan
The
Jungle.
ADC Nami.
You had let's see, Renata top on your team. You had
We had Vex
uh
support.
yep.
Was Ginks
With
Nami?
Nami ADC.
Yeah, Ganks was Nami, yeah.
And then
Who was mid?
Xerath mid.
Right. It was Xerath mid, yeah. And then we gave them Rek'Sai because we didn't think that Zebra could play it, but he could, and he was good at it. So they had Rek'Sai. We gave them Kasanti. The guy first
Yep.
time Kasanti
He
and was
popped off too.
first time Kasanti and he did well with it.
Yeah, he had some big plays.
Then we gave over Soraka and Leona. They brought Leona mid, and
Yep.
then who else? Oh, we gave
Nidalee
Nidalee, and they
ADC,
did
yeah.
Nidalee ADC, right? Yeah, it was really cool. It was fun. Yep. In retrospect, we probably wouldn't have given Rek'Sai and would have given just another support or something, because then they'd probably have to put Cassante in the jungle. We were talking for like 3 or 4 minutes before the game started. It's like, which champion is going to jungle? Because that's the prio. That's the
Yeah.
priority of who can actually clear the jungle of our champions. And it was Rakan. And it wasn't horrendous, actually. It really wasn't that bad. I was surprised. But yeah.
It's really nice that Riot's making a lot more champions viable for the jungle, or at least decent. So at least like whenever you go down to low elo and that type of stuff, they can, as long as you're a good pilot, you can practically do whatever jungler you want and get away with it.
Yeah,
it is nice.
the accessibility into the jungle has been great, though I think us junglers don't like the changes to leash ranges specifically. Has been a very unpopular change. Other than that, like the pets, I think have been better. I've liked them more than what I thought I would. John, you're nodding your head as well to that.
I think they've gotten better over time too, because I felt one of my, I guess, qualms with the pets was like they felt when you were trying to like walk away and last hit a camp, like kiting like raptors or something away, for example. Like sometimes the pet autoing felt not so great, but I feel like nowadays it feels a lot better. Like they've done a great job, I think, with that. It feels way better to do that, where you can kite it and kind of last hit it if you know your damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also the change to the healing, I think, was nice. Like, there was a point where it felt like, unless you were playing one of the top 5, meta junglers, you would be kind of unhealthy if you did a full clear, because it was hard to do some of those camps. Like Gromp had so much HP.
Gromp still has too much HP, even though they gave it less
Takes a
HP.
while.
It's too
Yeah,
healthy.
takes a while to do. Yeah, it does take a while to do. Like, yeah, I don't know. And I think to a degree that is still true. Like, unless it's like, someone who's very meta, it does take a while to full clear, But
even if you're
yeah.
playing someone meta, like Gromp specifically, like okay, so let's take
Master
Lillard.
E deletes Gromp, though,
He
I will
does.
say.
Warwick does. I'd say
Yeah.
probably Rengar does pretty well, but most anyone that
Yeah.
has any AOE, you're standing there for 15 seconds hitting that sucker. Like I played Lilia yesterday, and or last week or something. I don't know, sometime a few days ago. I was hitting Gromp for so long. Or, I mean, shit. Who else? I played some Diana last night, and then that I was able to delete him there. But that's Diana. A lot of junglers have a lot. It takes too long, I think, to kill Gromp. Maybe lower the gold value, but like make it squishier would be just better overall. A lot of the clears is just not worth clearing. You just leave it alone, and then all right, I'll just stack up a biscuit and go do something else. Like it's not worth those 20 seconds to go kill Gromp sometimes.
Yeah, and the other thing is now with how they changed the XP, I'm pretty sure you can do red raptors wolves and get level 3 also. So then that doesn't even matter, and it takes way less time to get level 3 than doing Gromp or blue. So I've been doing that a good bit actually.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when
On Wukong.
in the show match yesterday, I didn't take Gromp. I mean, I was Rakan, granted, but I didn't take Gromp until like 10 minutes. I just left it. Just left it alone. I think I
I
had
love
full Gnasher's Tooth before I even tried to take Gromp.
take that Gromp.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Milio. So the first thing is our last question of the week was, what are your initial impressions of Milio? Gameplays, visuals, lore, etc. So we got a few responses here. So Jiggly Duff says he seems like a nice young man. I agree with that sentiment. He does seem like a nice young man, and his lore
He
holds
looks like
that through.
yeah, he seems like a good lad.
Yeah. Do you guys know his lore at all? Do you Matt, do you pay attention to League lore or not really?
Not as often as I should.
Okay, so I'm still the only one that pays attention to lore. That's fine. So here's the 30 seconds on his lore from what I read through. I forgot to watch the Necrit video before today, so I'm gonna watch that actually tomorrow because I'm excited to watch it. But he was a fire mage living in Ishtal and was traveling to he travels to the capital as well and hangs out with Nidalee and her band of I don't know, cougar people. I think there's others like her, but maybe not. Just like her band of people, and because they accept him in because he heals one of them. He basically used his fire magic with uh, some people who were like in a house that was burnt to the ground, who were dying, to heal them in some way, and they kind of infused with the magic, and those blobs. It's like these spirits mixed with his magic that he learned how to heal, and he's all renowned in his village and stuff for it. And so he's just like a good, chill young person moving like on his way to the capital and healing people as he goes and not causing any trouble. Just a good dude. So I agree, Jigglyduff. Zenny Wolf said, from what I see, he seems solid. We'll definitely need to see more of him played. Don't think he'll be busted. Maybe a Renata type release. Folks, that has not happened at all.
New champ not busted. Impossible.
Yeah. He has had hotfix, and it was pretty extended. Pretty big.
Yeah, he's hitting.
Yep. And then we got one other one. Silent said, I think like most other champs, he'll be a bit volatile for a while. People will complain a lot about him while others adamantly defend him. Ultimately, I think he'll fall somewhere in the middle. Maybe a bit over or undertuned. My only concern is his duo strength with certain champions. Really don't want to see him super synergize with one or two champions and make them unstoppable, like we've seen with Lucian Nami, Zeri Yumi, or a few others. I don't know if that will happen, but that's my only worry, I guess. To which I gave a thumbs up because that was a great response.
I like that answer. Yeah, I like that answer a lot.
I will say his numbers were too high, and some of his interactions are a little strong where it needs to get nerfed down. But then I think he'll land at that point because I think basically everyone saw the trailer or saw the kit and was thinking this guy is going to be busted with Kog'Maw, with Caitlyn, and with, I don't know, a couple of other longer range ADCs. Really, is the ones that we were all thinking, right?
Jinx, yeah.
Jinx, okay. Yeah, anyone that wants to stand at the back and fire and doesn't want people on them, he's going to be great with to increase the range and peel and heal and shield and everything that he does. So, yeah.
Yeah, he got lots of healing.
Yep, and as far as being a balanced release, it did not happen. So there was a hot fix. I'm not going to read through the numbers here, but the AD ratio on his passive was already reduced by 15%. The heal on the I think it's his E. I got to actually see which one it is. The W.
W.
The
W.
W is was already reduced by 2 at max rank. The total heal was down by 50. And then his E, the shields, the AP ratio was decreased, the base shield was decreased, and the recharge timer was increased. So that's a lot to happen for a hot fix. Obviously, he was coming in too hot. Right now on U.GG, he sits at a 50% win rate with a 22% pick rate. So this is on his first patch as well. This is going to be, I think he probably ends up landing with people who are good at him when they understand how to play his kit well and in the right situation. He's probably a 54% win rate champ right now, I would guess.
He's hot on the Rift right now.
Yeah. Is that
He's
a
the
joke
newest thing
because
on the
he's a
block.
fire mage? He's hot on the Rift?
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
Nice. So, yeah, what were your guys' first impressions of Milio? Anything different than what we heard there? John, you go first.
Okay. I mean, I've played with him actually a good bit and played against him a good bit, and I've played a lot of. Probably the most I've played is Milio Caitlyn, and that feels really good in my opinion. I've done some Rengar with Milio before, and that feels really good too, because he can throw his W and E on you, and then the burn is really nice too, especially if you have red buff as well, and Duskblade that you cannot move, and you're super fast, and he can just throw a cleanse on you, which is nice when you go in. That's actually huge because that's a big problem with Rengar. Like if you can't insta get your full stacks so you can W out if someone like Malzahar ults you or something like that, anyone with hard CC, you're gonna be in trouble, right? So that's really nice just having that lifeline along with a shield, a ton of heals, and increasing his attack range. So that felt really good. The one game that I did try it with one of my friends playing Milio, but I have not played him myself in a Summoner's Rift game, but he looks really fun, and I like I like that they made a champ like him who seems like he's very good against engaged supports. Like he just, if you can time it right, he just hard counters lots of engaged supports
I mean,
and just melee characters in
every
general.
engage as
Like
well.
yeah, it's just really strong that he can do something like, for example, like even Pantheon, like that's just really strong. And I like that some of them it seems like they're easier than others. Like it's not like every interaction is like very easy to counter. There is some timing and I think anticipation aspect to it, which is always good. There's skill in using the Q, but I guess the thing that we could like segue into talking about that Matt was mentioning was the aim assist Milio Q has been interesting. Like that was just wild to see, and I don't know it. I was almost wondering that, like whether it was like a bug or something, because I feel like in the games that he just never misses it. You know, like I didn't know whether it was easy to hit or like what it was, but it seems like he never misses it.
So for
And
those
so
who
like
don't know what John's speaking about, Matt, do you want to describe the video that you sent all of us hosts in anticipation of this?
So you could probably go find on YouTube if you go search for it. Basically, Milio, whenever the Milio Q hits a minion, it basically turns into like a misfortune Q where it can just auto aim direct itself towards the enemy champion if they are nearby. So if you hit a minion, it'll actually bounce off and it can curve to the right, it can curve to the left. It doesn't need to be like aim skill shot directly head on. So it will auto adjust to where the champion is.
And when I watched that video, it wasn't like it was moving, a few pixels here or there. This was moving like a whole Nidalee spear or more, one direction or the other. It was moving a long way to one
yeah, it was
side.
like across like mid lane, like almost all the way across mid lane.
It was
The Qs,
nuts.
with the Q, you have to play either you go in or you are super far ranged where you can just step out. That's the only real ways I've seen of dodging it.
Yeah, I agree. And the cooldown, I think, needs to be higher as well. So, okay, we've been talking about the Q. Let me just read through the Q. So, if anyone doesn't know what we're talking about here. So, it's called Ultra Mega Fire Kick. It's got a 12-second cooldown. The mana cost goes from 50 to 70 with ability level. There's no cast time. It goes 1,000 range and 1,200 speed, so it moves pretty fast. After 0.25 second delay, Milio kicks a fireball in the target direction. That grants sight of its path, not true sight, and knocks back and stuns the first enemy it hits over 1 second. After collision, the ball bounces once in the same direction from the target's location, revealing the ground before exploding in the same radius after a brief delay, dealing magic damage to all enemies hit and slowing them for a brief 1.5 seconds. So it slows them for a decent amount of time. If the primary target is a non-champion, the ball knocks back further and creates a larger explosion. So if it hits a minion, it will go back further there. Or a monster, literally any non-champion as well. I wonder how that works with Shaco Clone, then. Is he technically a champion, or is he a pet? I have no idea.
That's a good question.
I don't know, cause I feel like Shaco Clone is weird. That's just like that weird interaction stuff. I feel like some of that is buggy too, because for example, like you can Warwick Q, you still heal off of the clone, right?
You do,
But
yeah.
like, I don't know. It feels like other stuff is kind of wonky sometimes.
There's
with the clone.
also, the clone's also very buggy. I saw a video today that that Vanderil put out, the bug guy, and he was going over like some of the biggest bugs that still haven't been fixed that he says that he thinks Riot has forgotten about or just not dealt with because they can't. But one of them was Shaco ult inside of Mord Death Realm. And if Mordekaiser kills the Shaco clone and he dies because of the explosion, Shaco gets a double kill.
What?
Yeah.
That's so weird.
Yep. It was a lot of those things like that where things are dying and it's going to other people. There was one other one where it was so Renata, if she's dead, not interacting with anything going on, she hasn't E'd, like let's say she's been dead for a minute if it's late game. Occasionally something will happen where if the enemy team takes Baron, she'll get the kill for it. It'll just go over to her team. And she has no interaction. It's not like she's R'd them, because that does happen, but nowhere nearby. She is dead off the map, not influencing things, and boom, Baron goes to her for some miraculous reason.
She paid off the Baron.
Yeah.
Here
Seriously.
she's the Baroness, the Baron Chemtech Baroness.
Yep.
That's such a weird thing.
Yeah, that's like such a game ruining weird thing.
Yeah. Or the other one, which is also kind of game ruining, is they showed a Caitlyn who had like a 500 gold shutdown. It doesn't matter who it is, it's just that the character had a 500 gold shutdown, or just any shutdown in general. If you execute to a turret, sometimes it can give you your own bounty and reset your bounty. So she got the like 800 gold for the kill and the 500 bounty, and it reset her bounty, and she got it. That's fucked up too.
That is.
The W given back. Not
Yeah.
only life, but gold.
Yep. Yeah, so anyways.
But to tangent back, the Milio Q doesn't say in the tooltip at all how it magnetizes or auto aims. I think if they would change it up and add in like it will magnetize right after it bounces or something like that, just some sort of like word. I feel like magnetize would be a prime word for it
That would be good.
to add in.
Yeah, any little like blip about it. Yeah, just mentioning it.
So I imagine that it is a bug and not intended then. On the wiki where you can click on champions abilities and details, it says no additional details. So no one has any firm ideas on why this is happening or should be happening, other than it's probably an unintended bug that has yet to be fixed. So enjoy Milio's auto aim, folks. But yeah,
One favorite thing.
this Q is way too hard to avoid. I think as well. Like even take away the auto aim. If it's I think the radius on it is too generous. I would say.
He's got that L2 spam, left trigger, aim assist Q.
Yeah.
The auto attack, the A click type of style, but now it's on a Q.
Yeah.
Yep. Um,
I don't know.
what do
I
you
feel
guys
like
think of the? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Matt. Go ahead.
I feel like the easy way to shut down Milio, because all he does is rely on his Q for his main damage, and then the E or W to give the auto buff. Typically, Milios will engage a little too far. I feel like the easiest way to go shut him down so far that I've seen is either taking a Blitzcrank or a Recon that can instantly pick him out with a good something like a catch real quick. Um, because the Q requires him to actually knock him back, and with Recon it requires a prediction, so you can bait out the Q real quick and then go in after that. ADC wise, I'd probably pick a long range. It doesn't feel good to play Vayne or anyone else like that or Draven. The range needs to be long in order to deal with the Q.
I feel like Andy's support would be pretty good against him.
Maybe
Also,
yeah,
and
I
she's
see
pretty
that.
meta too for support. So
That's a fair point.
Yeah. What is let me see. What is his auto range, Melio's? 525. So
that's a good question.
Annie outranges by because she is 625, I think, or 600. She
Yeah,
is the second
I think
longest
it's
in the game.
625. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's another good reason to pick it there. And yeah, what do you guys think of the cooldown? I think probably needs to go up at 12. But as far as the damage that the Q does and the slow, have you found that to be too oppressive or too strong at all, or does that feel pretty balanced for the ability overall? Matt, what have you
I don't
seen?
know.
I feel like early game maybe just a tad less damage would be nice. It's not a huge thing. It's more just early game doing 200 around that range damage feels a little oppressive if you get hit by it. Though to be fair, you should really try to stand behind your minions. That way it hits the minions first and not you.
Yeah, John, what
Just a
about you?
tad bit strong.
Yeah, I think so. My thing is like, I mean, eventually, if that is a bug, like they'll take that out. But I think given the fact that in the current iteration of it, where it is much easier to hit, I think it is a little oppressive, like you said, because it's like 90 at level 1 plus 90% AP scaling. So it's hitting pretty hard. If you hit it 2 of them, it's gonna chunk the ADC.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I think that is like probably the only. I think the slows feels probably okay to me, in my opinion. But yeah, the damage maybe a little bit. Maybe even not even the base damage, just the scaling. Maybe tune that down a little
Mm.
bit,
Yeah, I
or
saw
maybe
that plus 90% AP ratio and was like, hold
like
on a second. I know it's his only damaging ability, but hold on. That's
yeah,
pretty
that just
high.
screams. Yeah, to me that kind of just screams like potential for abuse. Like he just like what's to stop like if he actually is I feel like it is kind of hard to pop off with him actually because he doesn't really like you said Q is his only damaging ability. So I guess that is probably why scaling is so high. But
I feel
still,
like
maybe like 85% even, and then maybe it does 85 damage instead of 90 at level 1. Like change load it by like 5. Just a little bit. Because yeah, I do agree it does kind of do a lot if you're good at hitting it.
Why not just change it so that the AP ratio, let's say it's like 50%, but the magic damage goes maybe from 70 to like 400 perhaps, but it scales with your level. It's not related to the ability level at all. The ability level increases the mana, it'll increase the slow, it'll maybe change the cooldown a bit, but it doesn't change the damage on it at all. And then you can lower that AP ratio, but still still have that feel like it'll do some damage as throughout the game. Like it'll keep with the amount of damage it'll do will still be relative to everyone's health pool increasing and the resistances increasing as well, as I guess what I'd be searching for there.
I think you have to be cautious about that part because people then start taking that and then just building something like 80 or just armor and take something like that. they might go around like the Scion route, right? Where Scion can now just build tank but still do a ridiculous amount of damage,
Sure.
something like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Um,
All right, let's move on to the W then, because we still have 3 more abilities to cover. So, Cozy Campfire. I love the image for this too. It's so nice. So this is the W. It costs 90 to 130 mana based on ability level. The cooldown is 29 seconds to 21. That's long. Oh my god. Target range, where he chooses someone to cast this on, is 650 / 700. I'm not exactly sure if that change. I'm not exactly sure why it's those two numbers, but it's it's Caitlyn Auto's range. Um, what it does is Milio summons a Fuemigo, a fire friend, at the target location or upon the target allied champion for 6 seconds that follows the nearest allied champion. Allied champions near the Fuemigo gain increased base attack range and heal every quarter of a second over the duration. The Fuemigo also grants sight of its surroundings, so it'll see into bushes. Not true sight, but sight. Cozy Campfire can be recast after 0.5 seconds or within the duration. The recast. The Fuemigo follows the target allied champion to within 150 units. The recast is placed on a 0.5 second static cooldown. So you can recast this every 0.5 seconds to go onto a different target, though don't see the value in that necessarily because it doesn't move all that fast. So it's not going to go very far. But yeah. Milio count for the purposes of this ability. Also, Milio counts as an allied champion. Cozy Campfire may grant Fired Up, which is his passive. Oh, we skipped the passive. Yikes. Upon being summoned, and at most once every 3 seconds thereafter. So I guess I should also cover the passive really quickly here, since I just said that. It's pretty simple. Milio's abilities enchant allied champions, including himself. Enchant their on hit for 4 seconds, causing their next basic attack or ability hit against enemies to deal 15 to 35% based on the allied level's AD bonus magic damage, and apply a burn that deals 25 to 80 based on your level magic damage over 1.5 seconds, and that damage is further enhanced by 20% AP. So very supportive. You're increasing the damage that your or others' abilities or autos do every time that you're enhancing them with a heal or a shield or a crowd control clearing effect of some sort like that. So the Cozy Campfire with this, you throw it down and it's constantly giving whoever, probably an ADC, it's giving them it also gives them bonus attack range as well. I forgot to mention that. It gives increased 10 to 20% increased attack range. So it's healing them, it's giving them bonus attack range, and it's causing their autos or their abilities to give an additional burn and hit slightly harder on the initial impact as well. So this is the bread and butter of his kit, really. This is the power of it. Yes, he has the Q, which we just griped about, but this is his main selling point, is you're empowering your ADC from a range and keeping your team safe. Yeah. I haven't played with Emilio. I've played against it, and this is kind of annoying. But it's you can also just step away because it doesn't last that long. I don't know how. Oh, it's for 6 seconds. So you can, if they're using it in a trade in lane, you can just walk back and wait for it, or you can engage onto them. Then that nullifies the range of it. It doesn't heal all that much, but over time it will heal a decent amount. John, you said you've played with it, with Caitlyn and maybe with others as well. How has it felt to play with it?
I think so. I've done Caitlyn with it probably 3 or 4 times. I've done Jinx with it. I think both of those feel really good because you can. I think in particular, like with Caitlyn, you can, if you have your headshot ready, you can just sit in a bush. He W's you, and if they're in E range as well, you can just headshot, E, Q, trap, headshot, and then if they hit the trap again, you can headshot them again. Like that combo does so much, and there is literally no way that they get away from a headshot with Milio W on you. Like that gives you an absurd amount of range. Actually, it's pretty disgusting because headshot already gives you a lot of range, like on top of Caitlyn's regular range.
Yeah, it's something like 1300 or something.
Yeah, it's a ton. But yeah, that with Milio, it makes it like so they literally cannot get away from your headshots, which is pretty insane. But also for Jinx, it's nice because you can just walk up with fish bones with the rockets, and then especially when you have, I've had one particular like circumstance where I had lethal tempo fully proc, so I had the range, and then I had Milio W me, and my range was absurd with fish bones. Like that felt really good. I don't know. I think giving attack range is a very oppressive stat when used correctly, but the ability does have pretty long cooldown, so I like that it does like what was it like 20 what 7 seconds or something at level
It's
1 or
29.
21 maybe.
29 seconds at
29.
level 1. Every
Yeah,
30
that's
seconds, yeah.
wow. Yeah, that's a long time. So I definitely a lot of like you were saying, his power budget is in his W, and
Mhm.
that's like his bread and butter. He applies his passive. Um it heals and it gives the range. So yeah, I mean it just does. I guess in his kit, each thing does a lot too. Like his W has a heal and it gives you range, and it applies his passive
Yeah,
very easily.
and level 1 if you were to start that, but generally I think Milio starts Q. But if they level 1 or level 2, he has 365 mana level 1 and that costs 90 ability or that costs 90 mana. You can't be spamming your abilities with Milio because of his mana cost. Like his level, I mean at max rank, let's say, his E is 90, his W is 130, his Q is 70, and then his ult is always 100, as most ults are. Like this champion will have mana. You can't spam your abilities. You need to be strategic in how you employ the Q, the E, the W, and obviously the R, as you do with everybody. But I looked up the ranges. So Caitlyn's headshot is 1300 flat always. So you're increasing that by 10 to 20%. You're getting that up another 130 or 260 range. You're getting into I
That's
mean,
disgusting.
yeah, and I don't think rapid fire cannon works with that because we've been talking a bit about this, but I don't think that that's independent. The headshot ranges and the Jinx fishbones. Let's say you have fishbones at rank 5, like you did in that scenario you were just talking about. It gives 200 bonus range plus whatever lethal tempo gives. I think it's another 100 or something. And that range, you're getting a shitload of range for those fishbones, and that already is way too far. Not necessarily
Yeah,
way
it
too
feels
far, but it's very
insane.
far.
Yeah, and when you have that going on top of if you get like someone dies on the enemy team and you get Jinx passive, it feels insane. You get so many autos off and you have so much range. It does feel good. And my one of my friends tried you were talking about this before the pod, Cogma and Milio seems good. They
Yeah,
my friend tried that and it looked really good.
I think if it is just, I think if it's words, I think if it's very clear about like, all right, I'm going in now, I'm starting to poke. Like with Jinx, it's really clear to tell. Oh, I have my rocket out, I am firing at them. With Kog'Maw, it's very clear. Oh, I push my W, I'm attacking far range now. I'm gonna start poking. With Milio, it's like, okay, cool, you're starting to poke. Let me push my W and get that on you real quick. Um, Not just for the heal necessarily, but more just like, oh, you're gonna start poking, you're gonna start taking damage in return. Might as well give you some heal as well. But more just the trading stance.
Yeah, it's the perfect
Whenever it
trading
becomes
tool,
clear.
yeah, for your ADC. It's really nice.
And so I just read in the details here. This seems like I think they're going to change this. The attack range increase lingers on allies for the entire duration of the W, so the full 6 seconds, even if they leave the zone. I thought it was only
Mhm.
while you're on the zone, but if you leave, you don't get the heal anymore, but you still have the attack range increase. Holy
What? I
Christ.
didn't realize that either. That's wild. That's
That's
insane.
that's the reason why the redirect is so powerful during the team fights. You can literally just tap each person as you go.
Oh my god.
That is wild.
It's a little oppressive.
A little oppressive. That's really oppressive. Man, they need to change that where it's like you have to be on the zone, I think, in order to get it.
Mm.
Or like after 1 second maybe, or one auto or something like that. That needs to be tamped down a little bit, I think. But wow.
Yeah, that's wild. That's really funny.
Yeah.
My gripe right now is with the passive and his Q. It's either like I feel like with the patch team, they either need to make up their mind about either do we want the damage to be on the passive or do we want the damage to be on the Q type of style where the main damage is coming from. So it feels like both of them are really strong right now.
Mhm. They are for sure.
Um,
What's the cooldown on his passive?
Uh, so
It's,
it
with
doesn't
the W,
have
I feel like
one.
it's every second. I feel like something like that. You'll see like a little indicator, just be like a little spark or something. I feel like it was.
So Melio's
It's very clear to see.
yeah. So the passive on the passive language doesn't have a cooldown. Um, Subsequent applications of fired up only refresh the duration. It says okay, but so the W, as soon as you summon it, if as soon as it first hits someone, one of your allies, then they will get, or yourself, then you'll get the passive. And at most once every 3 seconds thereafter. So theoretically, you can get 3 procs of the passive, I guess, but I think it's really only 2. You can get 2 procs of that passive, is how I'm reading that there. I think it's once per heal or shield ability, and since the W refreshes, that's the case. But I think it's once per heal or shield. It's not super clear on the wiki here.
It feels like a
Yeah.
Draven auto, to where it's like a one stack Draven auto type of style where it just refreshes every single time, where you can go attack with it
Mm.
to apply the burn. It's really nice with the W because it applies it every single second. But then once that's down, you just rely on the E, which we'll talk about in just a second.
So, speaking of that
Very
E, I was about to transition to that. Thank you, Matt. So the E is called Warm Hugs. Again, a very nice name for this. So, the cooldown is, well, so there's charges. So the cost is 50 to 90 mana with ability level. The recharge time, because you can hold 2 of these at once, is 18 to 14 seconds. So a pretty decent charge time, especially early. The static cooldown is 0.5, so you can't instantly do 2 shields. There's a hard half a second cooldown in between. Just like a Mumu has a hard 3 second cooldown in between using his Q that cannot be lowered by ability haste or anything at all. So the shield strength is 60 to 140 plus 25% AP, and the bonus move speed is 15 to 25%. And so what it does is Milio envelops himself or the target allied champion in protective flames, granting them a shield and bonus movement speed for 2.5 seconds. And he can hold up to 2 of these. Warm Hugs effect can stack up to 2 times, so you can double shield someone in half a second there. So then you'd be getting a 120 to 280 shield with the AP as well. So it's a decent shield actually. It feels like it's decently large early on from what I've seen. It feels good to use. Yeah. And pairing that with the W, like you said, that's kind of the ultimate trading combo. You give them heals, you give them shields, you give them auto range and extra damage. What more could you possibly want from a support? And movement
He
speed.
gives you,
Sorry,
yeah, and he gives you move speed, and you can catch them. How do they get away?
The
get away.
movement
That's
speed
not
is
an
where
option.
the peak of the pinnacle is, where I feel like it's starting to get a bit
Yeah,
ridiculous.
he does it all. What can't Milio do?
Other than resistances, at that point,
Other
where
than
we
do
cross the line.
damage, yeah.
I would like to see them. I don't think it'll happen, but I'd like to see them, if they want to keep all these stats in here, flip some of them. So the E would give you the shield and auto range, and the W would give you heal and movement speed. It would change how he works, and I don't know how that would feel in lane, but I think that would be perhaps a more balanced way to keep all of these individual stats that they want to keep them all in check. It wouldn't be as good as it is now. I can definitely admit that, though.
Yeah, I don't know what's bigger, like at the I guess earlier levels in the game. Like, is the heal bigger than the shield level 1 through 3? I wonder. I
The
don't know.
shield is bigger than the heal, I believe.
Okay.
The total heal is so the shield level 1 is 60. We're assuming 0 AP. And what's this max heal here? It's hard to tell. I don't want to do the math, but I guess I can.
Or mathematician.
Looks like, oh wait, that's the top. Never mind. Hold on. So we're looking at 2.8 per tick times 4 per second times another 6. 67.2 is what I'm seeing over the duration. So it's the heal is 7 more health if I did the math right off the top of my head.
Okay. I feel like so my only thing with that would be like I guess for other champions that would be like Jano would be like, hey, why don't I get to give them attack range too? But I guess she gives it AD. But yeah, I think that would just to me, in my opinion, I think that that would probably make more sense and feel better. Because I don't know. In my opinion, it feels better to have a shield, a big shield, when you're trading, and getting range would be nice for that, you know. Versus, but I don't know. Like you said, that might be like the way they gate it or something, or like they did that intentionally.
I think with a shield, you have that subconscious of like, this is gonna wear off. I have to use this effective health now to get a trade. Whereas with a heal, oh, I got healed. I don't need to do anything with it. I
Yeah,
can I can
yeah,
use it and get
exactly.
back to where I was or take more damage, but
It's more intuitive.
I can also just sit on it. That's fine.
Yeah, yeah, it's way more intuitive, I think, with the shield with the range. But yeah, like I think they might have just done that intentionally too. But I don't know. Overall, everything seems like WNE feels very good to
On its
use.
own,
Shows a
It
lot
looks
of
like
utility.
he does. On his own, I don't think the E is overtuned. I don't think that's where the problems are in the kit, really. The mana seems fine, the
Yeah.
recharge time seems fine. Maybe a 1 second cooldown between shields would be nice instead of 0.5, but it's still not, they're not that bad, I don't think. Yeah. So, okay, let's go to his ultimate then. So, Breath of Life. Again, great name. Also, good icons all the way through for all of these. It costs 100 mana, as most all ultimates in the game do. It is so the cooldown is 160 to 130, so it is a pretty long cooldown here. But you'll see in a second, it has a reason for that. So, um, Milio, it's just an active, no passive. Active. Milio explodes in soothing flames, healing and cleansing himself and nearby allied champions of non-airborne crowd control. So anything that's not a knockup. We're talking suppressions, stuns, slows, silences, roots, pulls like Aurelion Sol. Although it wouldn't work all that well for him since it's constantly pulling. But yep, cleansing all of that stuff and granting them 65% tenacity for 3 seconds. Just like when you QSS something, you have additional slow resist or tenacity for a brief window. The heal is 150 to 350 plus 30% AP as well. And while Milio cannot cast his other abilities for 0.75 seconds after using Breath of Life. Breath of Life cannot be used while affected by cast inhibiting crowd control. So if he is silenced, he can't use this. If he is stunned, he can't use this. If he is suppressed, he can't use this. But he can use it to get other people away from those sorts of things. Um, Again, I think that this is good that they're not including airborne because that would be really janky, and Riot's made it a policy that anything that's knock up, you just have to live with it since you've been knocked up. There's nothing that'll reduce that at this point. Who knows? They might introduce something in the future. Power creep. But I think it's a little strong that this works on suppressions would be the one thing I don't know if I like that it works here. Otherwise, I think that this is good. The cooldown's adequate and the heal is menial enough. I don't even know if you need the heal. I'd prefer the cooldown to be lower and no heal, honestly.
I didn't even know that I healed, to be fair.
So there you go.
I knew it healed, but I mean, how significant is the heal? Is it like
It's 150 to 350 with ability rank.
okay?
It's not much.
Also, as a side note, the icon reminds me of the squirrel from Ice Age.
It does! It looks like Scrat!
Yeah, it does. I love that.
Oh, that's so cool. Did you guys? Sorry to tangent about Scrat. Or Scrappy? No, I think it's Scrat. Did you see that? So the studio that created Ice Age was bought years ago. But they were disbanded, and before they disbanded, you know how Scrat's Adventures always went on, and then the Acorn or the went somewhere else, whatever. They gave a finale to his story. Have you ever seen the short about that?
I don't know.
Oh, John, you should look it up.
I don't think so. Yeah, I'll have to look it up.
I don't remember what it is, but
Think
I
I've
remember
seen it?
liking it.
Yeah,
I've
it's
definitely
very
seen some of the
satisfying.
adventures. Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, that was like their homage to their studio being broken apart when it was sold, and yeah. So a couple of notes with his what exactly he can and cannot cleanse in his ultimate. Breath of Life does it affect untargetable units. So when I guess someone's in, I wonder if they're in Bard ult, that would work then. That's what I'm reading out of that. If you Bard ult somebody, then you can get targets out of that. Interesting. Milio can also cleanse himself from Mordekaiser's Death Realm. Other targetable allies inside the Death Realm, or if possible through a hijacked Realm of Death, or if multiple Mordekaisers are in the same match, will not be affected by the heal nor the cleanse. So, if you get Mordekaiser ulted and there's a Silas on your team, and Silas ults someone else, so there's 4 people in the same Death Realm. You ult, it'll only pull yourself and then Mordekaiser out. It does not pull your ally out. That's in there as well. That's what all that means. Thank God. If it pulled everybody out, that would be disgusting.
Yeah, that would make
Mhm.
it just so unplayable for him, for Mordekaiser. That is.
Yeah. Yep. This seems like a fantastic ultimate for Silas to steal, by the way.
Mhm.
Yeah, that would be insane. Unstoppable Fed Silas with Milio ult. That sounds scary.
Yep. And the heal as well, which is just, and the 65% tenacity. Like the whole thing is, that's wild. It'd be so good.
But it doesn't apply to himself, right? So whenever Silas gets it, if he gets suppressed, he can't apply it to himself. He can only apply it to everybody else.
True, he can, but he probably would be using it on
So
a root would be a good one, or I guess disarms are no longer in the game, but slow really are the main ones there. Yeah, but that is a
still,
good
it's a
call
huge
out.
ultimate.
That's a good call out though. Yep. Um, how has this felt as impactful as it's intended to be? Matt, have you seen it be that impactful, or have you just not really seen it play out that way?
It's definitely an impactful ult. Um, I haven't seen it personally yet, but it's definitely gotten some close calls out of the way for sure. I mean, I guess I have seen it impact.
It's like,
So
yeah, good.
close calls out of the way. So like whenever a bind or a hook comes out, like a thresh hook, I've seen a lot of threshes. Um, whenever the thresh hook comes out, it definitely helps a lot. Definitely for those like game changing CCs that come out.
How does it work with Blitz Hook?
It can work if you can have the reaction time for it.
Let's hook.
I
Let
think so.
me see.
I think
I'm gonna look at this
the
really
way it's
quickly.
Yeah,
said, I think it should
I think
work.
so too. But yeah, it should, but it would be hard to time. That is pretty quick, especially if he's like sitting on a bush or something, like a like an unwarded bush.
Hmm.
You gotta have quick hand, Milio hands for that.
I'm not seeing anything. Whenever I googled Milio Ultimate Blitz Hook interaction, it's showing me how to destroy every lane Ultimate Blitzcrank Learning Guide, July of 2019. So can't find it right now. I'm
Not
sure
tested
we'll
yet.
see it at some point. Okay.
But yeah, his ultimate though I think is really nice around like objectives because against teams that have like a Wamo combo kind of engage, that is just super nice because then your whole team can just get their damage off and not worried about getting perma CC'd by the enemy team. That's just huge, being able to get that damage off, especially for like your ADC or any of your carries.
Yeah, and the effect radius seems a little high to me. It's 700. So I don't think that's 700 in all directions from him. I think that's 700 like in diameter across. So thank God for that. But that feels still a little high. I would think that he should need to be right next to them or like flash onto them to use the R. If you're able to do it from that far away, that seems like it doesn't allow for him putting himself in enough danger to pull the ally out for it to be worth it. But maybe I'm just trying to find ways to take him down given how strong he is right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not so sure yet where the happy balance is.
Yeah, it's hard to say. That's a very unique ult. Like, I don't know.
I
I
like
like
the
the
ults
ult.
a
I
lot.
like the idea.
Yeah. I like the ult a lot. It makes him feel like a Soraka type of style where the team fight starts to become where he's the target priority.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's healthy in that way. Hmm.
I'm just looking to see. Oh, I finally found it. Okay, I was also looking to see his other skin because his other skin is beautiful too. It's Fairy Court Milio, the Fairy
Yeah.
Court and Fairy King or whatever all those the springtime one skins are. They're all beautiful. I played with the Karma one yesterday, and God, it was gorgeous.
Yeah, I
I
was
didn't
gonna
realize his
say.
arm.
Yeah, I saw someone using that Milio skin one time, the Fairy Court one, and yeah, I saw that and I was like, yep, you know Milio's strong with that coming out. That
Yep.
good Fairy Court drip.
Yep, it has new animations, new sound effects, VFX, and a new recall. The recall on those are beautiful. It's just like there's like birds and things coming down from the sky, and oh, it's so nice. It
Yeah,
out
they all the splashes and skins for those look awesome.
it looked
Mhm.
nicer than my Winter Blessed Diana recall, and that also has like Aurora coming down and she's dancing and stuff. It's still very cool. But yeah. Okay. So what do we think is good? So I know Matt, you mentioned that Rakan or Blitz are good into early in lane or just in lane in general. What are we thinking that if someone picks Milio on the other side, like what are you thinking would be good responses? Should you not want to play Rakan or Blitz? What are other options for team comps to be able to put together? John, what do you think about other suggestions that people could play?
Play against Milio.
Yeah, playing against Milio. Yep.
Yeah, I think I don't know. Annie just the more I think about that, Annie seems like she would be good against him. Um, like if he ever either the ADC or he like engages, I don't know. Like it seems like Annie could just burst. Annie's pretty good in meta and support as well currently. So I don't know. She has a threat too with her passive, so he can't just kind of do whatever he wants. Um, especially if she has flash up. So I think she would be good. Anything that like hard engage that he can't easily cancel, like Matt was saying. Like I don't know, yeah, Rakan sounds good. Like Blitzen sounds pretty good in like in a bush. Anything that can just burst him down. Um, like LB sounds like she would be good against him. Like I mean,
LeBlanc,
I think
yeah.
she would just annihilate him. Like just one tap him with her combo. Like anything like that. I think Galio would probably be pretty good against him, but he can use his R, but he can't do anything about the knockups, which is, like that doesn't help too much with that for him. So it help with the taunt, but not everything else. Because yeah, I don't know. Those seem pretty good against him.
Not non-committal CC I think would be good. So like
Yeah,
I think him and his lane partner would
Mhm.
struggle into like a Cho Senna lane. I think would be really rough for them.
Yeah.
yeah, that would be obnoxious. I think.
Speaking
Yeah, a Cho'Gath
speaking
you.
speaking of Cho Senna, uh, Matt and I immediately laughed. We were playing last night after Clash, and how long did that game go? I want to say like 50 minutes or so, maybe more.
48, 50 minutes, somewhere in there. Yeah.
It was wild. We played a game. Yeah, he was. You didn't have Senna at Mastery 5, I think, and I was like, all right, I'll play Cho'Gath. We'll play Cho Senna bot, and we didn't do that well in lane, and the map was not doing that well. But we weren't surrendering, um,
Mm-mm.
and eventually we end. So they had who did they have? They had a Nasus. They had Kindred, Zillion, Ezreal, and some mid laner that I don't remember. But
Tom Kench.
yeah, it was Tom Kench mid, right? So Tom
Mm-hmm.
Kench, Kindred, and Zillion, all Cho'Gath's worst nightmares to try and I by like 30 minutes in the game, did not have any champion chomps. I had all my minions, but I didn't have any champion chomps. I had like one dragon, so I did not have that much health. I think I got like 3 the whole game, but it happened multiple times where I was trying to eat someone and then Zillion R or Kindred R or Tom Kench eat them right before it happened. Like oh my god, but they they could not break, even when we had triple inhib down, they could not break through uh the Nexus turrets and us, and we eventually were able to claw it back and win, and it was so satisfying. And then I mean, I'm sure we both just logged off, and then I'm sure we both went to bed. Like, I was like, all right, I'm done after that game. I'm going to bed.
Yeah, those are mentally taxing.
They are, but it was a lot of
So
fun.
fun.
Yeah. Yeah, but any sort of like unstoppable hard engage or any quick engage to get onto Milio would be good. He has one of the lowest base healths in the game. It's 560. I mean, there's only some
Hmm.
champions have 550, a few have 545, and then Senna has 530, and then Yumi has 500. And they have Kled here, but Kled's a different story because he has two different base
Yeah.
healths. So
I think Malzahar would be pretty good against him as well. And Warwick, maybe.
definitely. I've seen the argument that Milio would be really bad into just picking like a mage support as well. So you just poke them out
Hmm.
with magic damage.
Yeah, that
Right
would be
now,
annoying.
right now, I would say anything but Enchantress, because right now the numbers are a bit high. Whenever the numbers get tapped down, um, maybe a Yumi or something like that would be nice.
Yeah. And Yumi's numbers are a bit high too. Those are going to go down too. But
Hmm.
yeah, there's a lot of things that you don't want to play into Milio in lane specifically. You might still want to play it because it might work for your comp. It might work for the situation of your lane duo. But um, this champion has very clear. I am anti-engage and empowering my bot laner ADC teammates. Yeah, I think Bard might be decent, but if Melio's R works on Bard, maybe not.
Yeah.
That's something I'm not sure about. It wasn't
Yeah,
clear.
I'm not sure. That would be interesting if
Mhm,
that
In
did
lane, it would be
cancel out.
definitely a fun skill expressive type of style.
mhm. So I'm looking at the worst matchups on U.GG, and lo and behold, Annie has the worst matchup for him. 46.6%
Heck
of the
yeah.
time he wins that. Uh,
Nice.
and then it's Soraka, Rel, and Blitzcrank. So other like poke with
Oh.
Soraka, and then Rel and Blitz are hard to stop engages if you're not prepared for it. And then Rakan is right there as well, and then Senna and Zyra and Vel'Koz, and then you get to Thresh, and there's a zillion there as well. But
Yeah, Zyra sounds gross. Yeah.
Zyra Jin
Jeez.
combo into them.
Yeah.
That would be a fun one.
yep.
Yeah, because, yeah, I think that would actually be a good combo, too. That sounds
That would be
really
a fun
fun,
one to
too.
challenge them into. Yeah, I would love to try that.
hmm Absolutely. Yep. But
Hmm.
yeah. Anything else that we want to talk about with Milio?
I
I
don't think I had anything.
Not off the top of my head. I
think
know.
that's about
Let
it.
me just read Bomo's comments real quick because I did ask him since he was unable to join us. He basically just said that he thinks that he's strong and the hotfix was needed, but still thinks he's pretty strong. Definitely support he would like to have on his team, and I think all of us kind of agree. If you're able to, Emilio just right now is in too overtuned of a state that you wouldn't want them, but you would always want them on your team, and you don't want to face him. So probably I would imagine, given that he's banned in 37% of games and picked in 22 right now globally, Plat Plus. I guess if I look at all ranks, it's basically the same, a little lower. But if you're on red side, ban Milio. If you're on blue side, try and first pick him if your support's up for it. Yeah.
Yeah, just remember that he is an enchantress, and with enchantress, you know, if you're ADC, you can only support people who are good. You can't really carry people who can't really carry themselves.
hmm Very true. Right. So have that in mind. If you're of that mentality that you want to play the carry support, Milio is not for you. That's a good call out. Yeah. So okay. Yeah. So I guess that'll be it. This will be a bit of a shorter pod. I guess it was gonna be, and now it's 1 minute and 20 or 1 hour and 20 minutes. So maybe not. Pretty standard for us. So yeah. But
Mhm.
I guess with that we'll wrap up. So We have community nights every Tuesday, starting at 7:15 Eastern time and running for a few hours. They've been great in recent weeks, so please keep showing up. It's fantastic. Um, we also would love to hear your feedback. So either respond to the question of the week directly in the question of the week subthread of the Discord. You can also send us feedback to the feedback thread in the Discord, or email your questions or thoughts at questions@trinityforcepodcast.com. Additionally, we have a Patreon where you can go and check out the benefits should you be interested in them. There's a whole bunch of great ones, and I'm still waiting for the day when someone signs up for the big mega $50 for the month and they get to be a guest on the pod. I'm excited for someone to eventually do that. But there's lots of other benefits, so go check them out. Other than that, thank you all for tuning in. This has been episode 802, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Take care.